Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us this far. We want to move on to the next segment. And as we always do it every Monday, we have our family conversation. And today's topic is all about marriage. And the question at the center is marriage a scam? We welcome your views, positive, negative, neutral. You are welcome to be part of this discussion. We're using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle ever remains to be at KBC Channel 1. My handle is at Jain Wambui across all the social media platforms. And I will be giving you our guests' social handles in just a bit. But let me introduce you to them. We have a lady and a gent with us in studio this morning, starting with the lady to my extreme left. She is Maria Nyambane Waweru, who is a journalist and an author of 2 books, one titled Love the Original You, and the second one, Marriage is a Scam. That is the title of the second book. And next to her, to my immediate left, we have Nahashon Waweru Ngugi, who is a youth ambassador as well as a boy, child and youth ambassador, joining us for this conversation this morning. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for making time to be with us. We start off with your social media handles so that our viewers can also interact with you. Nahashon?
The Wawerus.
Joint social platform. Okay.
As a family.
The Wawerus.
Yes.
Facebook, Twitter.
Facebook and Instagram.
Instagram and YouTube.
All right. Yes. So if you have any questions you want to direct to them, you can always shoot the questions to them. Now, this is not the first time we've had you guys. We had you, I think, over 2 years ago here on Good Morning Kenya. And back then we were talking about an app that you had launched to help parents when it comes to sourcing for schools. Yeah. Quick update on that. How is it going? Let me hear from you, Maria.
It's going so well, actually. That app plus the magazine, they're all going so well.
Yes.
Yeah, that was actually over 3 years ago, because I remember I was not yet a mother.
Congratulations.
I'm a mother of 2 now. Thank you.
All right. Now, before we get deeper into this conversation, Nahashon, you have a movement titled Boxes for Boys movement, given you are a boy, child and youth ambassador.
Yes.
Give us a brief overview of what this movement is about.
The movement about Boxes for Boys, we use the word boxers as just something to associate it with the boys.
Yes.
This is because we want to reach the young boys, especially we are working with the public primary schools. We have a lot of movements working for girls, empowering the girl child. Now, Boxers for Boys is a movement to empower the boy child. By the end of the day, you have empowered all the girl child.
Yes.
And the girl child will be so empowered. But where is this boy who is empowered to handle the empowered girl child? And that's why you come up with the Boxers for Boys.
All right.
Where you go to a school, you talk to boys, you give them boxers as a way of getting them. You give them boxers, you talk to them, you give them some toothbrush, toothpaste. So by the end of the day, they'll be able to empower them, they'll be able to handle the empowered girl. Yeah.
All right. Now, let's get to the conversation for all of the day. The whole question being about marriage and is it a scam? First of all, Maria, you are the author of this book. It's titled Marriage is a Scam. And yet you are married to this gentleman right here with us on set.
Yeah.
Let's start with your thoughts. A yes or no answer. Is marriage a scam?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Nahashon, is marriage a scam?
Very.
All right, let me start with you, Nahashon. Why would you say it is a scam?
The point is, the marriage becomes a scam where you realize that what you are told about marriage and what you get in marriage is totally different. And whoever tells you what you'll get doesn't tell you exactly where the problem is. Okay. Doesn't not share the problem. It's the issue of where running with your own mistakes. And that is the worst type of running. Go and run with your own mistakes. Where I think if it was running with your own mistake, as well, if I run with your own, I'll avoid the mistakes on my side. But when it comes to marriage, you are just told marriage is sweet, but it has challenges. But you don't tell me which challenges. My friend, go get the challenges on your own. So by the end of the day, you realize, wait a minute, whatever you are telling me, it's exactly totally different. And two, you see, dating and the first 2 years marriage is all about drama. And it's so sweet. It's all about drama. It's all about honeymoon. There is nothing, there is no mistake. Yes. There is no challenge. Everybody talks about hashtag. It's at that time when you have the hashtag marriage works. But now come 2 years to about 5, 6, 7 years there. That's now where it stops from marriage works to now where you get the real thing now. This is the rehearsal of the exam now.
All right.
Exactly.
This is your husband speaking, mind you.
Yeah.
But you also say marriage is a scam.
Yeah.
Why?
Okay. First of all, when I got into marriage, as ladies, we are always told that ndoa ni kuvumilia. That phrase, I heard it so many times. Funny enough, for me, it was easier when I got to marriage. That's one thing I thank God for every day. my marriage was easier. But seeing that this generation, we need instant gratification. One small thing, you're off. One small thing, you need to go. That is where I realized that the challenges that people go through out there, I also went through them. And I'm still in that marriage, and there are challenges I go through that some people can't even have a single minute to take. They just want to go, go, go. Regardless of how many kids they are living, how their kids are going to survive, they just don't care. And that's where marriage is a scam came into mind.
But don't you think you are misleading those that are still in their single dating phases and they're hoping to get married, but you are married and you're saying marriage is a scam?
Funny enough, it's not a mislead. It's actually a guidance. Because these same people are the ones who are told marriage works with all the social media glamour of how marriage is romanticized to an extreme, that they walk in there and start pressuring other people because they want the same thing that they see out there, not knowing that some of them, it takes a lot to stand on that camera and tell people that it works, even though you know that I fought with someone last night, but I have to be with him because you're working, and smile. We have to go shoot for the magazine. And when we are shooting for the magazine, I'm supposed to be happy and forgot that you pissed me off in the morning. Now, that's not something that I want someone to walk into marriage with. And this issue of people in their early 1920s, now they're making marriage look like it's something so amazing. Then 2-3 years down the line, they're leaving kids, getting married again, as if it's nothing. Like they've made the society so rotten to a point that people will not believe in marriage anymore.
So would you say by virtue of some people marrying young without really understanding what marriage and the weight it comes with is all about, is part of the problem as to why marriage is considered a scam, or rather why you consider it a scam?
That's one of the problems, but there is another bigger problem called, we don't call it the public, and say those people who push me, the parents and the society around me. These are the people who, after dating my wife for 2 years, for the 2 years we were boyfriend and a girlfriend, and then after a service of 6 hours and taking a vows for just 1 hour, the following morning you expected me to behave like a husband with an experience of 60 years. So it's just a 1 hour thing, taking the vows, 6 hours, which is just a ceremony, eating and dancing, and automatically converts me from a boyfriend to a husband, automatically. That is it. And then the next thing you tell me is that pesa yenu ni pesa ni kikapu moja. Put all your money in one basket, period. And then when responsibilities start coming, that's when you realize, yes, it's one basket may work, but realistically, the money for the wife, it's her money. But the money for the husband, it's all money, it's a global money. So by the end of the day, you realize, if I had come with this mentality of, let us take all money into one basket, and I started with that and I fix it to that, it won't work. That's the point. So I think the whole thing is, and the whole issue you're bringing about the marriage is a scam is that when you're going to that marriage, don't go static. Don't go with the notion of what the public has told you, what the parents told you, or what the pastor told you. No, go there going to run alone. Indeed, whatever they told you, it's not what you're going to get there. It's totally different thing.
All right, so from what I'm picking from what you've just said, you know, by virtue of transitioning from dating fiancé to now being married, there's the wedding that happens.
Yes.
Now, is it a question of marriage being a scam or the wedding being the scam?
Okay. Wedding is one of the scams in marriage, Wedding is one of the scams.
Because wedding is what changes this whole narrative about now
wedding,
become one.
Wedding, indeed, that's chapter 1 of this book. You see, she could not have released a book without the husband first going through it and approving it. Wedding, it's one of the biggest scams you have.
Yes.
And like we always say, the bigger the wedding, the higher the chances of, the lower the chances of sustaining it.
Okay.
And the more difficult it is to leave it. Even if you are going to suffer there, the more difficult it is to leave it. And then you look at those people who appeared in your wedding. Who are they? You don't know them. And whatever or what transpired there, you only left me with a debt. Probably like our marriage, we had invited about 120 people, only to end up with 600 people. So we had about 500 plus gate crashers. By the end of the day, you are left with a debt of 80,000. Go sort it around. Money goes to one basket. Now go sort it around and tell me whether the debt will go to one basket.
Yes.
And then the other question comes in. Why should we glorify the wedding so much, which is just 6 hours thing probably, and vows for 1 hour, for some few minutes I put it, and a lot of dancing and a lot of food. But by the end of the day, there is something which you call marriage, which is forever. So I think the whole issue is, the more you pressure to wedding, and like I tell, I'm one of the people who preach. when you go to church, I'm one of the preachers.
Preacher.
Yes, but I usually tell the youth, let's not be victims of the religion. Religion is the opium of masses. Let's not be a victim of that. Let my pastor not push me to do a wedding if I'm not ready to do it, or if I cannot do it. You get. And the moment I do that wedding to the public, the whole church wedding, a very big wedding, the more it is difficult for me to express my problems in my wedding, in my marriage.
Let me come to you, Maria, with the same aspect of looking at the wedding and marriage and thinking they are one and the same thing, and maybe consequently drawing that conclusion that marriage is a scam. Is the wedding or the marriage a scam?
Actually, it starts from the wedding and heads to marriage. Because, when you are planning that wedding, when you are doing that wedding, you are dating. And during the dating life, you could do anything. Like, I had the option of leaving you, but I did not leave because you are there pampering me, taking care of me. Now we've gotten to marriage, you are there thinking that, oh, she can't go anywhere now. You get there.
I'm done with the courtship.
Good. I'm done with the courtship. You got there, you relax. For me, I thought that this is you that you showed me. Then I get into your house, I find out the real you because you can't pretend. Now, the scam started when we were getting married in that wedding. Now we get to marriage. The fact that people have already put in their heads that I am going to find this person, do a huge wedding, get married, stay with this person, have this number of kids, all those things are something that you romanticize before you get into it. But once you get into it, you realize that this is the biggest scam. Now, to some people, they know that before. Like, you already know that things are not going to be as simple as I want them to be. Or if I get to that home, in case he becomes his real self, or in case she becomes her real self, I know I can handle, because I knew in the first place that there's a difference between courtship and marriage. And marriage comes with responsibilities.
Yes.
Now, the scam continues all through. Then, since you did a huge wedding, it's hard to leave because everyone is like, na venye alifanya harusi kubwa. But that phrase kills a lot of people. It kills a lot of people through suicide because they have to take it. You're emotionally dying, but you can't do anything because you did a wedding. People thought that you are the Romeo and Juliet of today, and now you are suffering, and there's nothing you can do.
You brought out that aspect of the scam having started when you were dating, boyfriend, girlfriend, graduate to fiancé, fiance, and then finally getting married. But that comes in the question of time. You had mentioned 2 years before you finally got married. When it comes to dating, do you think we accord enough time in this courtship period to really learn the other individual? Because again, as you say, after marriage, people sort of now become themselves. But when you're dating, nobody comes with a recommendation letter from their ex that this one was a good partner or this one was toxic. Nobody comes with that.
Okay, let me tell you something.
So the whole question of they get to show them their real selves.
Yeah, they can't do it during dating. Because the fact is, whether we date for 9 months, whether we date for 2 years, remember we are not living together. So you can fake for that lunch date, that dinner date. You can fake for a getaway together. That's easy. But now when it comes, even if you fake for 9 months, 2 years, 5 years, it doesn't change a thing. Now call it marriage. In fact, studies show that people who get into marriage through come we stay actually tend to end up staying together happier and longer than the people who do weddings. Because, come we stay, you started dating by coming to stay. So,
you see how this goes.
So, you are able to cope, tolerate, compromise, communicate, everything during that time. But for you, you are dating. Then, 2 years down the line, we have a baby, we have another. So, I've already tolerated everything. What's new?
Okay. Now, let's hear from a man's point of standing. The same question about dating and the time that you feel is appropriate enough to say, okay, I've known this woman and I think she's the one that I want to make my wife.
You see, and in my many years of teaching, and there's something I asked people, there are those who study from class 1 to class 8 and get 400. There are those who study from class 1 to class 8 and get 200. There are somebody who will go from class 6, 7, and 8 and get 400 comfortably.
Yes.
So the issue of running somebody, it is different from person to person. The same with issue of faking. For me, let me first give it. For me, I was a very good person. And there's a question I give people. Are you
still a good person?
She can answer that. And there is a question I give people. My mom had brought me up for 28 good years. And then we dated with her for 2 years. And then exactly after getting married, you tell me, love her more than your mom, who have brought you up for 28 years. Let her have me more than her dad. who have brought her up for 24, 25 years. You see, when the reality now starts hitting in, you're waking up next to this person, the responsibility to this person has decided not to wake up to prepare the kid to go to school. You have to do it, which your daddy didn't tell you to do, which my mom didn't tell me to do. So the whole thing becomes difficult, because when you talk of dating is an issue of how fast do you run each other person, and how far do you run, because you cannot run 100%. And the other question is, how worse does this person fake? The best he fakes, the worse it will be by the end of the day. The worst he fakes, the more ill he will be. So, and that's why we started by saying, that's why I support her saying that Kamustay works better. Because in Kamustay you don't fake. Kimeumana. So how do we do? Let's try it. It works, it works. And then you don't have the pressure that you have to be together. You get the point. But now, when you have dated, and then you have 2 years, you have planned the wedding, you have planned everything, and the wedding is done. And now you are married, the problem starts coming in. Where do you go? What do you do at that time? Is there a chance of getting back? Is there a chance of, there are many ways of conflict resolution. Is there a chance of you going back to your parents' home 2 months after the glamorous wedding in Safari Park or wherever? Is there a chance of going back to your parents? Why? Because Alinifukuza or because it's not doing ABCD. So at that time, what I've just started saying, dating, all about dating and the first 2 years. It's all about drama. So whatever happens there, my friend, don't take it. That's why you're talking of a scam. Don't put it in your heart. Probably put it in your lungs, because it may change.
Now,
it may change.
Let me ask you, Maria, is marriage too big of a commitment? Because marriage is termed as a forever. Man and woman shall come together. Let no man tear asunder. Till death do you part. Is this too big a commitment for people to really comprehend what it means?
Yeah, it is. And the difference is times have changed. Now it's even more huge than it was before. Before, marriage was sacred. Like people keep saying, it was ordained by God.
Yes.
It was very sacred. And you respected your marriage in all ways. And before, when we were getting into that marriage, you all have responsibilities to, each of us has their own responsibilities. Now the times have changed. If I walk into a man's house, I'm married to you, I also have to work. You also have to help in parenting. So the pressures have become too much, and people don't really, times have not changed for women. We still must have children. Like I always say, and I say it as a joke, but I always say that, I always tell him every day, the only thing I've not figured out is how you can help me carry the babies when they're in my belly. That's the only thing I've not figured out. Because both of us can work.
If only we could figure that out. Brothers.
That's the point. Both of us can work.
Yes.
Both of us can provide for the family. He can wake up, prepare his son to school, and take him to school. I can leave him with the kids and go work. That's easy. But right now, when my 6-month-old wakes up in the night to cry, I am the one to breastfeed, not him. So the times have changed, yes, but they have not entirely changed for us. But we have to live marriage the way we used to live. Yet at the end of the day, he look at me and tell me, "Bede, how is your job going?" But now, when we say marriage is a scam, we realize that in all these aspects, the major problem is this commitment. It's a lifetime thing. It's not, sometimes we feel it's selfish, because as time change, the commitment doesn't reduce. It still remains a forever thing, and we have to live by it. So people change, their personalities change.
Absolutely.
And that's where they can't stay in that commitment anymore.
So essentially, are we handed down a scam? Because, I mean, our folks, the older generation, we always hear of been married 44 years, been married 38 years, been married 23 years.
But let me make something clear.
And they never give us the details of what it has taken to run those 40 plus years. I think I should give you a high five
for that point. It's those who are ahead of us who gave us the project without the documentation. You get the point? They gave us the project without the documentation, or they gave us the wrong documentation. Nowadays, when you are getting married, this is the phrase which mothers are giving the daughters. Usisuburiwe, by the way, hujafukuzwa kwenu. So when you are going to that marriage, you know, even if it goes bad, one leg is where? And then this leg goes with this notion, sijafukuzwa. And probably the daddy's girl. And this man, you know, in every system, there must be collisions. So, and one day this collision happens. You remember, I'm on the other side, I'm a daddy's girl. So I can go back. That's the whole thing. And then it all starts with, even if unaniacha niko na kazi yangu, I can sustain myself. So the whole thing, it's like you are given the wrong manual, or you are never given the manual by the end of the day. So I think the whole thing is, before you get into this thing, just know you don't have the manual. You are going to create one. in the process. Yeah. If you create the wrong manual, my friend,
yes,
it will not work. If you create the right manual, it will work. So the whole thing is, if you improve your friend, if you improve your wife, you improve your husband, it will run. On our Friday night drive, on Friday night, there's a question I asked ladies. If this guy doesn't drink, if this guy gives you money, if this guy comes home early, and if this guy doesn't cheat, is he the best guy?
No.
Is he the dream guy? That was the question I asked. Because every day you ask, the major problem is he's cheating, he's drinking. But you meet somebody like this, somebody divorced their pastor, who is not cheating, who is not drinking, who gives her money, and who is kama hayuko kwa nyumba kwa kanisa. So where did the problem arise from?
Yes.
So that's the way we are talking about this. It means there is more deeper than we know.
Now, let's go back to that commitment part, because even when you're doing the wedding, you're told you shall only be truthful and faithful to one partner. But along the way, people change. And by virtue of having made this vow that I shall not have eyes for any other person, that does not distract your eyes from seeing other people as being attractive. That does not stop you from maybe falling in love with somebody else while you're still in that marriage. This aspect of commitment and understanding that the person you wed today might not be the same person that you are married to a year to come, and comprehending that before you get into this marriage. Let me hear from you, Maria.
First of all,
because people do fall out of love.
People do fall out of love, and that is why we say dating is just drama. Because when we are dating, so infatuated, there's this deep lust. But when it comes to love, love is something that grows. And people have different personalities. Like, I come to you, this is my personality. When I get mad, this is what I do. When I feel sad, I don't communicate. I look for a shoulder to lean on, hence cheating. When I am not happy, I don't come to you. Or when I'm happy, I come to you. When I need to celebrate, I have boys to celebrate with, not you. But when we were together, you told me that I am your everything. People do fall out of love. But you've been committed to someone for the rest of your life, and you are told that you need to stick to this. Now, normally, they say that the only important thing in marriage is communication, which I agree. Communication is everything. Tell me, I like this, I hate this. For you to be able to be like my boys, when I'm happy to come to you, this is what I want you to do. But at the end of the day, I can't satisfy you, as in, I am not created or made or born to just make you and you happy. That's not how it works.
Yes.
I was not born to make you happy. First of all, find your own happiness. But if your happiness is not with me, then to start with, that's why we say marriage is a scam. Because in the beginning, you made me believe that I'm your happiness, I'm your everything. Me. You complete me. That's the biggest lie people say. But in real sense, we know we don't complete each other.
Yes.
God forbid something happens, you won't be there. I'm left to raise your kids. And in raising your kids, you won't be there. But now I'll fall in love with someone else. That's not wrong. It happens. But at the end of the day, some people even do fall in love when you're still there. Why? Because the completion ended.
Now, Nahashon, I came across a statement where women were saying men get the better part of the bargain in a marriage than women. True or false?
There are some things men can't do. It's naturally. I cannot carry our babies in my womb. I even don't have one. I cannot, siwezi nyonyesha watoto. That's a fact. So naturally, in a marriage, there are some things the wife can do. And okay, we can say they are the most difficult, but she has to do it. That's how the nature is. But
do you think, my question is, do you think a man's life gets easier after marriage and a woman's gets more challenging?
There is a
looking at the social construct of gender roles.
There is a picture which usually goes on of a chicken, a big cock before which represents a man before marriage, and then another one which is defeathered after getting married, showing that. And then for the women, it's opposite. It's defeathered before marriage, and after marriage, it's so big. It has been fed very well. But that illusion is wrong. Like what I see, that illusion is wrong because if my life becomes difficult and my wife's life becomes easier, it means we won't work. Because I probably have more responsibilities, I'm more stressed than her. Probably I'm not sharing any of those to her. That means I'm in my own circle. It's in a different place. So if you can get away, so that fallacy of man's life becomes his, that's a lie. Or women's life becomes, that's a lie. It doesn't happen.
Maria, do you agree with him? Or rather with that statement, men's lives get easier, women's lives get more challenging after marriage?
That is the one part I say it depends on the marriage. Because, for example, there is nature's way of how women were created. Women were created to make sacrifices. And the minute you get into marriage, your entire life is about making sacrifices. Actually, your life starts there. Making sacrifices. I have to make sacrifice for my husband, for my kids. And now when it comes to a man, things are not like that. They were not made to make, okay, men are naturally selfish beings. That's a fact. They are naturally, they can't help it. It's in them. But at the same time, they are wired to provide and protect. And there's nothing they need to do or defend themselves about that. So it depends with the marriage. Like, for example, for my marriage, I have a balance whereby I'll never stress about finances. Because there are things that should stress me more than that. When I'm broke or when I have money, he needs to know I'm okay. He needs to make sure I'm okay. But that's my way of viewing things. Other people, now they'll get into that marriage and put in their mind that, his life is easy. Now I can't stay in this marriage because he's not doing this and this. But you've not come into a place whereby you agree that no matter what, I'll not be stressed about finances. Whether I have money or not, that is not my stress to carry. But for him, he knows very well that naturally I make sacrifices because I was made, that's how God created us, to make sacrifices. My social life will go down. Everything, like I can't just plan a trip. I need to go to coast. Let me just book a flight and go. I'll have to think, how am I leaving the kids? And sometimes men will be like, how will you go to the coast without me? Or how will you go to the coast and leave me with the kids? Naturally selfish. So their life doesn't become easy. They just become themselves selfish.
Now, before we're almost running out of time, and you had mentioned the aspect of communication, because this is also another area that so many people struggle with. You hear, 25 years married, but we've started getting along the past 5 years. Looking at communication, very briefly, we'll have to continue with this discussion next week, still here on Family Check. But let me start with you, Nahashon. Communication from a man's point of standing, what does it look like? Very briefly.
You know, for men, men we think serially. Women think corroborate. That's the point. Men we think in a line. Women think parallel lines.
Linear.
Yes, women think in parallel lines. And that's even how they talk and how they do things. If I'm focused my argument today to this issue, if you ask me anything else probably about sports, I'll have to look for it somewhere. That's why when my dad is reading the newspaper and the kid comes there and I come there to tell you, see that what? I don't have school fees. What does he do first? Cross the newspaper, look at me. So cross everything else in that brain and now concentrate on this one thing. But for women, you can do anything. She can continue talking, reading, and at the same time checking on the milk in the cooker, probably at the same time. So if you understand that, for men, it's one woman has kiagi. That's the first thing. Men listening, we can hear, but probably can't listen. We usually have a box, we call a box of nothing. At that time, you're not listening. So I think for women, and that's where the biggest problem comes in. I assume you didn't hear. You assume I can remember what I had. So you don't want to repeat. So you don't want to say it again.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. So once women understand that, it will be easier. It will be easier to talk to these guys or to talk to this gender. Like most of the times I say that women first talked to wild animals before men. The snake, for example. But that's how they're generally created. If you're talking to your wife, assume you are talking to a person with 100 things in the head.
Okay.
Yes.
Maria, your thoughts on the same aspect of communication, and given that you're already in marriage, comparing it to dating when you were in the courtship phase and now in marriage?
In dating,
which was a scam.
In dating, everything you say is yes. You can ask for a car today and he'll sacrifice his life for you. But when it comes to marriage, now whatever you say, he hears it in the opposite way. Like, what you say does not get into your ears the way you meant it to get into those ears. So it's like, it's either you are assuming me or you don't understand me, but I don't get it. No matter how many times I repeat, you don't understand. Like, men just have a way of understanding things the opposite way than you tell them. And women have a way of being logic about everything you tell them. Before you, whatever you've told me, before I put it into practice or before I understand you, I have to first figure out, is it good for us first of all? Is it good for me? Am I helping you when I do this? Am I spoiling you when I do that? So our communication is ruined in marriage because people don't, whatever goes into the ears is not what came from the mouth. And that's why the biggest problem in marriage is communication. We hear what we feel, not what we are told.
But this communication started from the very first day that you met.
Yeah, when we met, there was no communication. That was called pleasing you. Now, anything you say, it's yes. Anything you want, it's yes.
That was still a form of communication, but does marriage change your way of communicating?
Yeah, it does, because now you become your real self. Now I have the strength to tell you, I don't want this. It's a no. I can't compromise. I don't have to sacrifice for you to be happy.
Because you have that ring on your finger?
Yes.
Okay.
See, by the end of the day, when we were dating for our case, she could even take me to go and watch football. Comfortably. She could take me. Today, I tell her, today, we may not have a date today because there is a football game. And she knows I'm a fan of football. So, see, I can come. Well, let's go. So as I'm watching football, probably you're taking me on a machoma or wherever. But when you got married, the whole issue of football, she didn't refuse immediately. So it started, I can go and watch football. But later they started, now fika nyumbani, you're very late. You are coming home very late. Then it started, I'm not happy with you coming home very late. So in short, I'm not happy with that football you're going to watch.
Okay.
But you see, in me, you are allowing it at that time. So why is it now this time?
So marriage changes how we communicate.
Literally, and when the responsibilities start coming, things start getting worse at that time. Yeah.
Now, I don't want to delve into another aspect because we have so much to touch on in regards to this topic. Due to the interest of time, we're going to pause at that particular point, but depending on your availability next week, we'd love to pick up this conversation and tackle a few other issues that, come to mind whenever we talk about marriage and the whole question of whether it is a scam. But as we close, for today, Maria, what would be your closing part? What's your parting shot to our viewers today in regards to marriage and the whole question of it being a scam?
The only thing I can tell everyone is, please, when you get into that marriage, you're tired of our men committing suicide, our women living in depression. We want happy marriages. We want people to live in marriage the way it was meant to be, for companionship.
Okay. And
not in any other way. So if you have a chance to make your marriage work, you can compromise, you can communicate, but you have a way of doing it. Just don't romanticize marriage so much for those who are not in marriage yet. All
right. Nahashon, very briefly.
First thing, let's stop being deputy Jesus. When you talk about that marriage, marriage has a problem or marriage is a scam, somebody tells me, no, marriage was ordained by God. Yes, I know that, and I'm a Christian. And it was ordained by God and it's in the Bible. What will Muslims do then? If you quote the Bible, what will a Muslim do? What will Hindus do? Let's talk on the reality. Let us not fall into the cognitive trap of seeing things the way we are, not the way they are.
Okay.
That's the whole thing. And probably the other issue, allow me to touch on this issue of phones.
I don't want us to delve into that because that is a whole other area that we will be looking at. Yes.
There is no marriage which is the same like other one.
All right.
It's for you to make your own marriage
to make your own marriage work. Yes. Beautiful point. We're going to pause at that particular point due to the interest of time. We have to close this discussion and the program as a whole at this particular point, but we'll be sure to pick up this conversation next week right here on Good Morning Kenya. For now, we have been speaking with Nahashon Waweru Ngugi, who is an ambassador for the boy child and the youth. He's also he also works at martial arts. Both of them do work at martial arts. And we also have Maria Nyambane Waweru, who is a journalist, author, as well as the director at martial arts. Thank you so much for making time to be with us today. We look forward to continuing this discussion.
Thank you so much.
For now, we say goodbye. My name is Jain Wambui. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing.